Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our lecture this evening. And thank you so much for coming. It's a beautiful day out there, and I'm always grateful when people forego an hour or so of our nice weather to be inside and be enlightened about one or other subjects. I'm Sheila Kambi. I'm the head of the Islamic department here at the Met. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight, Dr. Shahid Ahmed Rajput. Now, he is someone whom I and my colleague Navina Haider have known for a long time, even when he was a student in London at the School of Oriental and African Studies. And at that time, he was very interested in studying the collection of material that came from Mansura, as it's called now, or Brahmidabad, in Pakistan. It was in the British Museum collection. He went on to write his PhD thesis on the subject of Al-Mansura, History of Islamic Art and Archaeology, a case study of Al-Mansura evidence. And that's been published in 2009. Dr. Rajput spent last year on a Fulbright scholarship here in the United States at the University of Wisconsin, which many of you know has a very strong South Asian department. So in our discussions, I know he felt it was a very good year. We've been lucky to bring him back thanks to the Mellon Foundation, who support this lecture. And he serves as an associate professor and chairman of the Department of History and Pakistan Studies at International Islamic University in Islamabad. And he also has established a new Department of Islamic Art and Architecture at that university just a year ago. So we have great hopes and expectations for what will come out of that new department. And I think I won't go on and on because I know that the people who are here are really interested to learn about the mystery of the Doorknockers at Al-Mansura. Many of us have seen pictures of these things, but have not learned enough just from looking at their pictures. And I hope tonight we're going to finally crack the code of those Doorknockers. So thank you so much for being here. And welcome, Dr. Rajput.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for coming for this lecture. Before I begin my talk, I would like to first of all handle this machine, which is modern but very nice actually. Now, this is to acknowledge first of all my special thanks are due to Dr. Sheila Kambi. Thank you very much for inviting me. Dr. Navina Haider and the colleagues of Islamic Art Gallery, Metropolitan Museum, New York, and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation for all possible arrangements and assistance for today's talk. After that, I would also like to dedicate my lecture today. This presentation is dedicated to my very dear professor, late Professor Geza Ivory, who was my supervisor at SOAS, University of London, Dr. A.H. Dani, my PhD supervisor at Punjab University, Dr. Ahmed Nabi Khan, for encouraging me for my PhD on Al-Mansura. Forget about this. Dr. Mark Kinoyer of University of Wisconsin Madison, Roger Dales and colleagues for their dedication and contribution to Pakistan archaeology. Now, this is a team of the American archaeologists who focus on ancient civilization, that is Indus civilization. And this Dr. Mark Kinoyer, who was my host supervisor at the University of Wisconsin, is the authority on Indus. If anybody wants to know something, he's the one. He's the person. But then I would say, I mean, I am so impressed with the whole team, like starting from Roger Dales, that he started at the beginning when the Pakistan was, got independence in 1947. From there on, Roger Dales was excavating or working at Harappa. He brought in Mark Kinnour, and Mark Kinnour has brought so many others. And this is a whole team, and I really appreciate and I'm impressed by the hard work and the dedication they have for the archaeology of Pakistan. Dr. Sheila Canby and Navina Heather and colleagues for setting up the Islamic Art Gallery and publishing the masterpieces for the Department of Islamic Art in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York in 2011. This is one of the really masterpieces to see. This is a wonderful publication. And the gallery, the Islamic Art Gallery, what we have at the Met, it is really something to see. I mean, I have seen almost the whole world as far as Islamic art galleries are concerned. But when you come into this gallery, it is really out of this world. And my hat's off. I don't, although I don't have a hat at the moment, but it is symbolically my hat off for your hard work and artistic approach and hard work really is beyond imagination. And also, I, to all my friends and colleagues in the field of archaeology and museums present today or otherwise. Now, this is the map of the whole Islamic world during 750, when it was almost as vast as we know about. But our focus will be on Sindh here. At that time, around 750, Sindh province was exactly more or less the same map what the country of Pakistan shows today. I mean, the present day province of Sindh is different than the Sindh which was known during 750. This is the whole area which was known as Sindh, that's the Sindh at that time. Anyhow, dawn of Islam on the horizon of Al-Hind. Islam came to Al-Hind in two waves. First wave with the Arabs from the south of the Indian subcontinent via Arabian Sea. This expedition was led by Muhammad bin Qasim in 711 AD. Second wave with the Turks from the northwest of India. This expedition was initiated by Mahmud of Ghazni in 1001 AD. The second phase, however, lies out of the scope of today's talk. Now, this is the map of Pakistan, as you can see, and these green lines, as you can see, these one. This is the first wave representing the Arab arrival. Now, the Arabs came from the south, from the Arabian Sea, and went as far as Multan, and from there again they came back, and then they went along the coastal regions. They didn't move ahead to the north of Pakistan. And then this is the other wave of the Turks who are coming from the Central Asia and Afghanistan, and then coming to Delhi and then spreading everywhere in India, and of which we know mostly with the the time of the name of the great Mughals. But that is a second wave. Anyhow, today's talk will focus on Sindh only, this one, because there is the site of Al-Mansura located. This is a map of of Sindh according to Arab geographer Ibn Hokal, circa 970. That is what he has made. That is how he thought, what he saw the Hind and Sindh. Now, this is the present day Sindh province in Pakistan. And here, there are quite a few locations which came on the way, on the settlements on the route of the Arab army, probable river course in the 8th century AD. Now, you can see all these sites which I have encircled, but there are two which are here and here. These two are the most important sites, the earlier sites on which work has been done. Here, the Debel is the area where the Arabs entered, and there was the fort of Raja Dahar, which was conquered by Muhammad bin Qasim, and then that marked the beginning of the entry, or that marked the victory of the Arabs, and they entered into Sindh. And then from there on, they stayed for almost 400 years. We shall discuss these 400 years in due course of time as the talk progresses. Now, this is the site where the objects of today's talk, that is Mansura Doorknockers, were found. Now, this site, Mansura, was first discovered by F Velasquez in 1852. And then he excavated here for 2 seasons in 1854 and 1856. And he tried to make drawings. This is basically etching, which he published in the Illustrated London News in 1856. Not only, by the time he came or he saw the site, it looked like this, what you see here. From this site, he collected a lot of surface findings, among which you have seen a lot of pottery, Islamic pottery, and in the lower slide you can see these are the ivory pieces, which he called as chessmen. According to him, that is A.F. Velasquez, these were the chessmen to be used during the sea journey when you are traveling by ship. So you have pegs to fix in the board so that your chessmen don't fall. However, this was his imagination, and he published it. We, as local native people of the subcontinent, can tell that these are the rattlers of any furniture. You can have in any chair or any bed or bed head, you will see there are a lot of rattlers. They just rattle in between. It is decoration rather than chessmen. Nevertheless, these are important finds, and they were made up of, these are in ivory. So among the finds, surface finds, which he collected in 1852 to 1856, there are so many finds, and variety of finds includes pottery, Islamic pottery, ivory, metalwork, glasswork, stone objects, etc. And the good thing which he did was that he made, at that time, I'm sure because of the lack of cameras, he was making it out, or getting it made by the etching of everything, whatever he saw. And then he got them published in London News, London Illustrated News. And that is how people got to know about this site for the first time. Then after publishing these things, the other good thing which he did was that he deposited all the objects in British Museum, London. Now imagine 1856 he deposited, and then it was studied in 1991 to 93 by me. They were sitting in the go down of British Museum, and I really acknowledge and with great admiration and thanks to the curator at that time. He was Robert Knox. He was a director or curator. I can't recall exactly what his position was. He was keeper. That's right. Yes, keeper. Yeah. So he was a very helpful person, and he gave me full access to see and study these things, which I made a catalog of and then included into my thesis. In addition to those things which you saw in the form of etching, he was also fond of making watercolor paintings. You will see in a minute. Now, these are the objects of bronze. So you can see what he found. He also found door knockers, and that is a small door knockers on the upper slide you can see. And also bronze door handles and things like that in bronze. It means that Mansura was representing a rich cultural life. People could afford the luxurious items such as ivory and bronze. And imagine that every door, or most of the doors, having the door knockers like this, which is the replica of the main door knocker, which we are going to study in a minute. Here you can see whatever he found in terms of ivory. This is ivory, which he made the watercolor painting. This is pottery in luster painted pottery, and this is the same door knocker what you saw. And this I didn't see where it was. I couldn't see it in the British Museum. However, he might have found it, and he made the painting out of it, which he got published in London Illustrated News. Now, this is another curiosity of Al-Mansura, the so-called coin molds of Al-Mansura. I mean, so far, this is what he thought. This is what afterwards, after him, another archaeologist who came half a century later, Henry Cousins, he thought. And then again, in 1966 onwards, the Pakistani archaeologists thought that these molds could be, or they are, coin molds. However, we are not sure whether they were coin molds or something else. But for the time being, let's assume that they were the coin molds. Now, these coin molds produce small pellets. Those pellets were then put under a hammer and then punched, and the coin was made. That is how people think. Now, these coins which you see here in this slide, they are of copper, lead, silver, and gold. Anyhow, this after Velasquez, who, when discovered the site, considered it was Brahmin Abad, that is a main principal city of Hindus. In 1852 to 56, the discovery is about Brahminabad, not Al-Mansura. But in 1897, there was another archaeologist whose name was Henry Cousins. He, for the first time, discovered it or located the site of Al-Mansura. He said it is Al-Mansura rather than Brahminabad. Or if there was Brahminabad, beside Brahminabad, a new town was established called Al-Mansura. So this is the plan he made. That is Henry Cousins. And on the next plan, you can say this is the layout of the city of Al-Mansura by Cousin in 1897. And here he has written the detail, all this detail, in which he has found about three mosques, and there are mosques in it. The Jami Mosque is the largest, and the first slide which you saw in terms of ruins, etching of the ruins, that represents that was actually the minaret of that Jami Mosque. Here it is. Now you see on the left, this is the same. In Sindh, they call it Thal or Thul, which means tower, a high rising building or something. It's called Thul of Mansura. On the left, this was seen in 1897 by Henry Cousins, which he published in 1929 in his voluminous work called Antiquities of Sindh. And then on the right, you see this picture was published in an article by two people. One is Bilham and other one is Saroj Lodi of Sindh. Now these two people have published an article in which they have included this. So you can see that the site is pretty much the same even after a century, or even 1.5 century. And even if today you go and see this site, it is just like that, which means that the building or this minar was made with a very solid material, and it has withstood. Now you can see 1856, the same thing. And then if you go back, here, so pretty much the same. Now, archaeology of Mansura, the source material. What is the source material? So the first one was published by F Velasquez under the title An Account of the Ancient and Ruined City of Brahminabad in Sindh, Bombay, 1856. It was published. Then B is Henry Cousins, Antiquities of Sindh, Calcutta, 1929. C, Pakistan Archaeology, volumes 1966 to 1998. This is another source. This was managed and published by Pakistan Archaeology, and after 1998, no more volume has come. Then there is another thing, another source called Ahmad Abi Khan wrote a book called Al-Mansura, a Forgotten Arab Metropolis in Pakistan, Karachi, 1990. Then this red thing, the Dr. Farzand Masih is the one who found these door knockers, what we are going to see in a minute, in 1987 excavations. That time he was a poor little, very junior field officer. And when he made the discovery, all the seniors of the Department of Archaeology were trying to grab that, those things, and everybody was trying to claim that it is them. They have discovered it rather than that little young officer. Anyhow, this young officer has now gone into Punjab University. He completed his PhD from Peshawar University and has gone into Punjab University, and now he's heading the Department of Archaeology. So he's doing pretty well. But anyhow, when he discovered, he took quite a number of years before he could publish his discovery. So, with a great courage, he gathered his courage, and in 1993, he published his preliminary report on excavations of Al-Mansura, in which he said that he made the discovery. Then the final publication on or the source material, which you can see, is my thesis, which was published under the title of History of Islamic Art based on Al-Mansura evidence. So that is the latest one. I have included as much as was possible so far. Here is this slide shows the excavation at Mansura by Pakistani archaeologists starting from 1966 and coming up to 1998. So all the latest, you can see, everybody who participated or headed the excavation is recorded here. And this is our dear Dr. Sharif, under whom this Farzand Masih was working. And this is the year when this Doorknocker was discovered. Anyhow, the main focus of all these Pakistani archaeologists, starting from 1966 to 1998, was to establish the fact that Mansura was made either on the virgin soil or it was established on the ruins of Brahminabad. Imagine the whole half a century they have spent. And finally, Dr. Ahmed Nabi Khan, who is late Ahmed Nabi Khan, very dear, old, competent scholar he was, he established that this site was found on virgin soil. It was not Brahminabad. Brahminabad was next to or beside Al-Mansura. Now these are those door knockers. This is a pair, the first pair of the bronze door knockers of Al-Mansura. This is the second pair of Al-Mansura. These are 4 of them. And these are very special photographs taken by the Department of Archaeology by filling chalk in the outer ring, where there is engraved calligraphy, Arabic calligraphy is written, which is the information about these door knockers as to who ordered it and for whom it was made. Now, here you can see how I just changed the earlier. If you go back, you see these are the different. This is a different combination as compared with now. There's a different combination. I just try to place those two together, which are similar, and then the other two which are similar. So I just shovel the position. Now, it is important to note also the size. What is the size? Size is average 55 centimeters diameter, and a weight is about 50 to 55 kilograms each. It's very heavy. It's not that easy to lift 55 kg single-handedly. Now, two of them now are on display in Islamabad Museum, Islamabad, and two of them are in National Museum, Karachi. So that's the location. One more point. If you concentrate on this door knocker, each door knocker is made up of three pieces. One is the central disc, which has the figure. The other is a outer circle, which has the information. And the third is the hexalobed knocker, which is hanging out of the chin or the mouth of the figure. Now, this is the writing on the outer circle, first pair. First and there's all two pairs I've shown, and then here I have produced a slide in which the circular writing has been put in linear, and then had been transferred, or the people have, or the one who, the epigrapher, has tried to put it into cursive script so that it is easy to read. So you can see easily under each line what is written. So the first one is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, Al-Amir Abdullah bin Umar. Now this is written on all of them, which means that all four of them were commissioned by Amir Abdullah bin Umar. And who is Abdullah bin Umar? He is the second Amir of the Habbari dynasty, who reigned between 883 to 913, almost 30 years. And during these 30 years, he made a plan of establishing and expanding and strengthening the city. And he made all those palaces like Darul Imara, Jami mosques, bazaars, the boundary wall of the city, etc. And that boundary wall had 4 entrances, 4 gates. On each gate had a door knocker on it. This is a slab from the Bambor Mosque. The Bambor is a contemporary city, as I showed you in the map, the first map, that there are 2 important early sites on which the work has been done. One was Bambor, where the Arabs entered into, from where the Arabs entered into the subcontinent, and there they constructed a mosque, from the door of which this slab has been found, and it has the information that this mosque was repaired thrice until the 10th century, middle of the 10th century, 900 and something. Anyhow, this mosque, which from where we have found this slab, is considered or supposed to be the first mosque in the subcontinent. It doesn't have any mihrab in it, and now it is just ruin within the archaeological sites of Bambor. But the type of calligraphy on this stone which is carved, it is very similar. It's typical writing of that period, which is matching with our contemporary site of Al-Mansura. This is that Bambor archaeological site with the bastions around the boundary wall, and then this is the central wall, which was drawn constructed by the Muslims to separate the Muslim population from the Hindu population. And then in this area, This is the mosque. This is Muslim, and this mosque is like that. It doesn't have any mihrab. This is the one entrance. This is another entrance. Wait a minute. No, here is this is one entrance and this is another other entrance. This is Maghrib, but it doesn't have any mihrab here. So you can see this is a big prayer hall, and these are the what is called little gallery around the courtyard. In the last year, a little more excavation was carried out by some archaeologists in Bambor, near Bambor, but not within the boundary wall, but outside somewhere. Their archaeological report is awaited, so as soon as that report is available, some more information will be available on the site. And by the way, this excavation and this map was done by F. A. Khan in 1960s, 66, from 1960 to 66. Beside the Doorknockers of Mansura, what we have seen, this is another example which was discovered from Spain and came to Christie's in 2000, in the year 2000, and it was published. And while explaining and enhancing the value of this Doorknocker, there was a reference of Mansura Doorknocker also. So that is why I have brought it in here, because it makes the relevance. Now they tried to make this Doorknocker look as valuable as Mansura Doorknockers, but when you see Mansura Doorknockers, this stands nowhere. You see, it is just like a tin which has been punched from the backside to make some design, as compared with the solid heavy Doorknockers of Mansura. Anyhow, they managed to sell it. The price of this Doorknocker was 200,000 to 300,000 pounds. And imagine if Mansura Doorknocker was sitting there, how much that would have been. Anyway, now we come to the mystery of the Doorknocker of Al-Mansura. The discovery was unexpected at a place, Sindh, which was considered as a peripheral part of the then empire Damascus and Baghdad at the 7th century, at 7th to 13th centuries. The discovery of Al-Mansura bronze is unparalleled, not only in Sindh, Hind, but in the entire Islamic world. The manufacture owes to the local Indian artisans and sets the superiority of the Indian art over the early Islamic world. This discovery is unique to this day, as nothing of this type has ever been found from any other Islamic site as a prototype for Mansura, but Mansura bronze has established a prototype for the later Islamic cities, such as has been found from Muslim Spain. Most of the scholars are still uncertain of their local manufacture, and one follows the other blindfold. Time has come that this trend is changed, and research is forwarded with evidence both physical and historical. The local manufacture of the Mansura Doorknocker is further established from the fact that some more examples of similar but smaller knockers were found, which might have been made through the through the envy of the large Doorknockers fixed on the gates of Mansura. Now this is I am unable to read because here on this screen, half of it is hidden underneath somewhere. So that is what I'm trying to see over there. So there is a sort of a glow. I can't read the word clearly. It appears that the inhabitants of Mansura followed the prototype of the and replicated it on their house doors. There are a number of door handles and hinges in bronze also. Moreover, by comparison, the craftsmanship and size of the Doorknockers of Mansura testifies the finest example of metalwork in the entire Islamic world and established the rich cultural and social life of the Arab people living in harmony with their more skillful Hindu neighbors of Sindh and Multan. The Arabic script on the outer discs is unique and needs a special attention. The artisans have chiseled out the name of Amir Abdullah bin Umar and the Quranic quotations in the same manner as the wood carving or stone engraving known in Al-Hind for long. No other example has surfaced elsewhere depicting this technique. Punch technique, however, is common, as is the embossing technique shown on the 11th century Spanish door knockers. Finally, it may be remembered that the town of Al-Mansura was spread on an area of 274 hectares, of which hardly 10% has been excavated so far. There is a large scope of further excavation on a virgin site of earliest Islamic period in Sindh wal Hind, and the chances are that the history of Islamic art will find new evidence for its better appreciation. This book is my humble contribution towards the archaeology of Al-Mansura and provides a sound platform to move on with the future projects. Thank you very much. Yes. If there is any question, please.
So Dr. Rajput would be happy to answer questions if anyone has questions.
Where can we get the book?
Oh, anywhere in America, anywhere, all the libraries. I was surprised to see most of the libraries here have these books, and all the leading booksellers can provide this. I've seen it on the net.
It's online, right?
Sorry?
Can we buy it online?
Online, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Please.
The faces of the Doorknockers themselves seem to have a very heavy Persian influence to them. Do you know what the meaning is behind the, are they repelling evil from a house? Or?
Yes. There are two, you see, there's such a long discussion on these figures. Two demon-like faces are to ward off the evil eye. This is normally in India, everybody, even today when you buy a new car, they hang behind or in the front of it, small shoes, or some black ribbon to keep to ward off the, evil eye. It could be true that Abdullah bin Umar was superstitious, and he got it made. But the other two, which are lion-like, that is discussed by several scholars, that they were imported directly from, or they were sent as a gift from Baghdad to Abdullah bin Umar. However, if it was true, then where is the example from where to copy? So you see, thing is that this was an independent dynasty, Habari dynasty. They broke from the center, and they were so strong, particularly when they converted into what is that word? It is a branch of Shia Muslims. They were not, no, but there is a, come on, that word has just slipped out of my mind. Anyhow, so not Ismailis, but not Ismailis, there is another heretics, it's called, and because Mutazalite, that's right, yes, and because of this, the Mahmud of Ghazni, when he attacked India, one of the reasons that he attacked was that he assumed himself as the champion of the Sunni Muslims. So he came to these people to punish them as they had turned heretics. This is what he called, the history has it. Nevertheless, these are the 4 door knockers. 2 of them have a leonine shape, the other one had demon-like shapes. It is still a mystery about the people, but what I say, and I would emphasize or try to bring about my point of view is that these are the local manufacturers, because when the Arabs came here, the Sindh and Multan had a huge bazaars of copper where they were able to sell things made up of copper and brass, which is the continuation, in continuation of those sorts of tradition, that bazaar are still found in India and Pakistan. You see? And there's no doubt that the Hindus or the Indians, they were much superior in terms of their technology and metallurgy as compared with the Arabs. And this Mansura was, but it is reported that history has it, Mansura used to export the instruments like medical instruments, like swords made of very superior quality metal, to the center, which is Baghdad. So it is very unlikely that these or 2 of them were sent from the center to the periphery, rather than other way around. Yes, please.
Has there been any scientific analysis of the alloy or the metal itself?
Yes.
And has it been compared to coins from Sindh or this region in this period?
This has something like 16.4 or 6% of lead in it, as compared with the rest of the metal. This is the alloy. This is a mixture of a couple of metals, and it has been it has been analyzed and has been found a very special mixture, which is normally not found in the bronzes found from elsewhere. This is a very special combination. It's a very strong one.
Are there any estimates as to how large the doors were that these knockers were on?
Having visited those sites, you see that these the place from where these door knockers were found, they were amongst the area where the royal people used to live, Darul Imara. So one of the rooms of Darul Imara had these 4 sitting or buried underneath. But of course, these door knockers could not have been fixed on the Darul Imara's doors. They were they were commissioned for the big gates, 4 gates of that big site. It's called Al Mansura, which is spread over 274 hectares. It's a huge area. The gates are huge. Well, not huge. I would say, how much? Something like 15 feet wide. So those 15 feet wide gates might have had a door which was as strong to hold something of this size. I think so. Please.
Yeah, I'm just a little curious about the idea of having city walls with large fortifications and then gates and door knockers on the gates. I mean, if you're closing the gates to stop people coming in, you're not going to invite them to come and knock on the door and ask for entry. I mean, fortifications, you don't do that sort of thing with them.
Well, your observation sounds valid, but so far what we have been pondering about these door knockers is that the only place where they could have been fixed were the door knocks. They are just, I don't think it is to knock the door. I don't think it is to knock at the door because they are so heavy. Maybe it is a symbolic decoration. I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to justify because we did not find them in situ. We have found them all gathered piled at one place. Meaning that they might have been valued, and at certain stage they might have been removed from where they were placed, or somebody might have hid them for a later period, but then nobody got the opportunity to dig them out and take them away. Life just went on. Please.
Didn't they shut the doors at night?
Of course, all the doors are
Seriously, so.
all. You see, until last century, there were cities like that which had the gates, and the gates were closed. Even today, when you go to the northern areas of Pakistan, for example, with which I am very familiar, like Hunza, for example, until last century, that state had the doors. And Raja of Hunza would order to close the door with the sunset, and after that nobody was going in or out. Even a hen was not allowed to go out to lay egg. Any
Put a
please,
damper on nightlife too.
sorry,
Put a damper on nightlife too.
yeah. Any please.
The date of the site that you give is there a date on the door knocker or only a name?
No, there is no date. It is the name, and the name we know who he was.
I see.
He was the second Amir of the Habari dynasty, who reigned between 883 to 913 for 30 long years.
I see. And his name is Abdullah ibn Omar?
Yes. And
That's
yes,
all the name that you have.
that's all. Yes.
There were some ceramic luster pieces that you mentioned. So what is the nature of those? I mean, is there a lot of them, and are they imported?
Oh, I'm glad that you reminded me this point. You see, this today what we have seen is only one object. Whereas the largest collection of surface find or excavation is pottery, Islamic pottery. And this Islamic pottery has all sorts of early Islamic pottery, starting from Sagrafiato of the Umayyad period, slip painted pottery, luster painted pottery, mortal ware of China, all sorts of early Islamic pottery and imported pottery from China has been found. And that is included in my thesis. Like, for example, the second last slide, here you see, these sorts of potteries you have found. Since this was not, my lecture was not on the pottery, so I didn't bring many slides on pottery, but I have a presentation, another presentation if you want to see, which will include all sorts of pottery. Right now on the slides. Do you want to see? No. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that yes, and you remember we were studying together. This Geza Fervari, he just taught us this Islamic pottery and infused his love of pottery into us in a way as if this was the most precious and valuable thing we were studying in the world. At least, I mean, I'm talking about myself, I don't know about you. But I remember that he really infused his love for pottery into me, and I really feel very happy in discussing Islamic pottery. And as a matter of fact, this is for the first time that somebody in his publication or in his presentation has claimed that these are the local potteries. This is made locally. Now, my theory is that since this site, that is Al-Mansura, is the earliest Islamic site, this is Umayyad, starting from the Umayyad period, established in 728 by the son of Muhammad bin Qasim, and continued until the middle of the 13th century, when it was destroyed by a heavy earthquake. So continuous life from the 8th century to the 12th century might have had the possibility that all the Islamic pottery, what we call Iranian or Egyptian or Iraqi or Central Asian pottery, might have originated here, and from here it was exported elsewhere. This is for the, I'm not claiming, I'm not saying that this is the final word, but for the first time somebody has said, and it is me, and I have the reason to say, although a lot more work has to be done, and when the work will be done and more evidence will be found, we shall be able to determine or to say something specifically. But unfortunately, so far in Pakistan, all the archaeologists of Pakistan are interested in Gandhara or Indus civilization. There is nobody so far I've found who is interested in Islamic art and archaeology. So the discovery has been deciphered for the first time, and people whose subject is Islamic pottery appreciate it. But we are waiting, and we shall see when there is opportunity to explore more, and with specific answer we shall come later.
How would the pottery findings relate to the Doorknockers in any way?
There is nothing, there is no relation between Doorknockers and this. It's just that the site is the same, Al-Mansura. From that site, in addition to Doorknockers, which is metalwork and metal industry, we have found glassware, we have found ivory, we have found pottery. Now these are those things which are the objects representing any particular culture at a particular period or a site. So this is part of, when the people were living and they were having ivory furniture, I'm sure that they were having enough money to buy beautiful pots, such as pottery which is in luster. Luster is as good as any porcelain of today. Luster painted pottery of the early Islamic period is as good as the porcelain of today. It's beautiful.
I think we have time for one more.
Please.
If you had to make a comparison on the city size, let's say an American city, like would this be considered a New York to, say, like if New York were like the most advanced at that time, would this be a Detroit? Would this be Baltimore? Would this be a smaller size city? Like what's the comparison?
Oh, there's no comparison.
Not necessarily size, but I mean like in terms of export and import and trade. Like if you're saying they sent metal, and they had ivory there. I mean, how much traffic was going through this place?
This is very difficult question, and there is no way that we can have a gauge to see how much things were going on. However, one thing is certain, that this city predates Baghdad. This is a circular city. And when Baghdad was constructed, it was also circular. And Baghdad followed the same pattern as the pattern of Mansura. Yes. And as I said, it has, the archaeologists have found all the furnaces, the kilns, which are the evidences of the industry or industrial area has been explored, which has the evidence that people were making a lot of material, which, looking at the size of the population of that time, leads us to believe that they were exporting rather than utilizing here. So where they were exporting, of course, they were exporting it to the place where there were the buyers, and the buyers could have been Baghdad, you see.
So it would be like the Detroit of the world, of the early Islamic world.
Yes, it could have been.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I think we have to call it a day. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for speaking to us.